session. Good evening, everyone, those who are watching us from around the world. Welcome to our session. I am delighted to make this important session on building a system today, powered by Impactors Connect and Department of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Our session is about from idea to product market fit. And to have this valuable session work out, we have an important speaker with us today. So let's welcome our speaker, and we are privileged to host Leo Benkel, who is the founder and CEO of PURE LAMBDA, as the keynote speaker with us. So welcome, Leo Benkel.
Hello, nice to meet
So,
you, everyone.
hello. Nice to meet you all. And before starting our presentation, I would like to say that let's have a short brief regarding our keynote speaker. So he is the founder and CEO of Pure Lambda, and all entrepreneurs strive to make their dream companies come true, but they face numerous challenges. The technological landscape is changing rapidly and translating their vision into tasks for their makers team thought to be. With that Lambda, Liu leverages his 10 years of experiences in Silicon Valley to advise entrepreneurs regarding technology and modern management practices. So entrepreneurs can feel reassured as they are being guided through the product development process. So without any further delay, I would like to welcome Leo Bankel to our session. So starting with Leo Bankel.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here, and whenever you're ready, we can start.
Yes, we are ready. Let's get started with you.
Yeah. So I have my screen shared. Perfect. So today
Yes, we.
I am talking through Pure Lambda, which is my company. I My name is Leo Benkel. I have a Master of Engineering, and I've been writing code since I was very young. I spent the last 10 years in Silicon Valley, and I recently moved to Luxembourg, where I founded my company, Pure Lambda. I provide technical expertise to entrepreneurs to help them overcome challenges related to product development. That includes hiring and onboarding processes, task management, software development strategies, and more. To learn more, you can check out my website at purelambda.com. And now let's start what we are here today. So we want to talk about when you have an idea, how to make it a business, how to get to product market fit. Obviously, this is a very long and complex topic, and we only have about an hour, so we're going to try to overview the little steps, tips, and advice I can help and provide to you. And I'd like this session to be interactive. So when I explain something, I will ask you and ask you to practice. So I'm going to look out in the chat to see if you're doing the homework. I'm doing mine. I prepared the slide, but now it's your time to participate. So please don't stay quiet. So how do we start? What is an idea? You can say, okay, I'm going to make a new cocktail. That's an idea, but can you make a business from it? Like, what is the requirement? So first of all, you need a problem to solve. And that's interesting because usually when we have an idea, we think about the solution that can solve the problem and not the problem itself. So when you have all those components in your head, you need to realign them to focus on the problem and think about what the solution works applied to this problem. So that's the two main keys, the problem and the solution. Then obviously you need to work on the execution. How do you make this solution real, and how do you make it happen to the problem? The finances, how do you monetize the solution? Because we're here to make a business. We don't want to just make a solution and let it die on its own. We need to flourish and water it and make it grow. And so how do you make it grow? With traction, because you can make a great product, but if nobody hear about it, nobody is going to use it. And maybe you're going to save starvation in the world, but if nobody knows about it, it doesn't work. So how do you talk about your idea? And when I say talk about your idea, I'm meaning talk to someone. Maybe you meet someone in the elevator or at a networking event and they ask, what do you do? And you need to answer to them. But it's not just that. It's also how do you talk about your idea to yourself? How do you make your idea clear so that you can move forward? So here are the one sentence kind of like key tips on how to build like a one sentence ID plot. So first, what problem are you solving? You want to tell clearly like what are you addressing? Are you addressing traffic jams? Are you addressing carbon monoxide? Are you addressing housing market? Then for who it is, like who is facing this problem and who is going to take to be happy to see your solution being created. Then why you? Why will you be the best person in the world to build this solution? Why nobody else can do it? How? So that's the moment where you talk about your solution. Like, how do you solve this problem? Do you make a website, a mobile app, a new product? And what is the value add? Why is nobody else building this? And how is your solution unique? So this is the moment where I'm going to ask you to contribute, but first I'm going to give you an example. So let's say I'm going to like role play and imagine a person have this idea and tell you this plot. You ask this person, what do you do? And the answer, I want to solve the access to clean water in developing country. This will help people living in regions where the infrastructure to provide clean water does not exist. I have experienced this life growing up, and I am now a mechanical engineer. I will solve this problem by providing a pump with built-in filters. This will be cheap and will not require expert to install. So you see that in this plot, we first describe what is the problem? Access to clean water in developing country. Who is impacted? People that live in those regions and don't have access to water. Why am I the best person, or this person is the best person? It's because they've experienced this life growing up and because they are now a mechanical engineer. So they have the people expertise, they know what it's like to be in this situation, and they have the technical expertise, so they know how to build it. What is the solution? It's a pump with filters. And why is it different? Because it's cheap and it doesn't need expert to be installed. So that's like the one sentence little plots. Like, I mean, it's obviously a little bit more than one sentence, but you see the idea. It's like you can quickly answer, and that helps you to guide you like in your path to building a company. And when someone asks about what you do, you have something ready to go. So that can be an investor you meet at a networking event, or that can be someone you cross in the elevator, those type of things. So I would love if you can type in the chat, and I'm not sure how that works on this platform, but I'm sure we're gonna figure it out. If you can type like your little one sentence, try it with your ID. I'm curious to see a few. And the first one obviously is always hard, but I'm sure one person can jump in. Come on, people, we want something interactive. Let's not make it boring. No, nobody's jumping in? Or am I not seeing the chat? All right, well, I am going to move on then, but it's not very fun, guys. Okay, so moving on, the user scenario. So now that you know what you want to build, you want to describe a scenario that involved your user. What will be the experience having this problem solved for them? In the power of storytelling is real, where we tell stories to each other, where we have beliefs and we write books and we write movies. That's all because of the power of storytelling. So why is it powerful? First of all, because of empathy. It creates a connection between you who's telling the story and the listener that receives your story. It's entertaining. It can trigger feeling like loss or sad or fear. It's inspiring. People will want to act, will want to be involved. It lets people imagine it lets people make travel in their head, like simulating a world where things are possible. And it's memorable. People will remember a story. People won't remember facts or like a percentage, but they will remember the story and be able to think about it later. It will stay. So how do you tell story? First, you want something personal. You want to use first name, connected to real life. When you write down your story as like a draft and you work on your pitch, you want a clear goal in your head. Like, what do you want to make people feel? Do you want them to lose? Do you want them to sing? Do you want them to be angry? Do you want them to be empowered to do something? Uh, challenge the reality. Use the what if question. Like, what if that was possible? What if your solution was already real? What will that change for the world? Have a clear structure. You want to start an initial situation, a middle, and an end, and you want a successful end for your story. Be engaging, involve the listener, like what I've tried to do, but apparently it's not very responsive today, or maybe the chat is not working. But I hope you're enjoying the talk anyway. How do you structure your story? First of all, you want a persona. So you want to introduce your characters. That will be your user. Describe the initial situation of this person and what are their living conditions. Then you want to describe the problems they're encountering and why they are, how and why this is impacting their life. Then you describe the ideal solutions that will solve all their problems. And then you describe your implementation and how your project is solving the problem that this person is facing. So similarly, here's a time where you should be interacting, and I'm gonna read to you a little story that I put together on this imaginary application. So let me tell you the story of Julia. She's 34 years old, and she has a 4 years old son. She works as a chef in the cafeteria of a big company. She needs to be up to date on the well-being of her son during the day, and she's pretty tech savvy. So she wants to keep in touch with her son while being at work, but her time can be hard to manage. Between stressful lunchtime and quiet in between hours, she has tried live cameras, but she might be missing the important moments when the babysitter needs her. She has also tried to simply let the babysitter call her when they need help, but that is not working during the company rush lunchtime when Julia does not have the time to stop her work to pick up the phone. She wants a system that can alert her in case of emergencies and interrupt her work, and the system should also be able to track events throughout the day so she can look at it when the load of work slows down. Using the Baby Alert app, Julia can communicate with her babysitter through video in case of emergency. During the day, the babysitter can send her notes to look at later when work's low. Julia is now at peace during work, knowing she won't miss any of the small moments while being alerted in case of emergency. So similarly, here you see how the first section introduces the person. It's Julia. She's 34 years old. She has a son. She works as a chef in a big company. She's tech savvy. So like you can emphasize and connect to this person. Then you set up the problem she's facing. She wants to keep in touch with her son, and she tried several things, and none of it has worked. So then you describe what the ideal solution will be. She wants a system that does this and that, and then you introduce your solution. It's like, here's the app we build that solve all her problem, and then you finish your little user story by telling how Julia is now feeling. So she feels at peace, she feels happy, she feels relaxed. And that can create this connection with the listener, where the listener feels like, oh, that could be me. If someone faces problems, this person that now feels happy could be me. So anybody want to try this type of stories? Oh, I see that someone posted something. Sweaty Akter, I want to do a restaurant business. I cannot understand how to start, how to convert my idea to a business. I would like to change the traditional way of having food. Okay, so that was not a user story, but that's interaction. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And don't hesitate to ask a question later so we can answer as we go along. Anybody want to feel like writing a user story? It doesn't have to be as long and doesn't have to be as prepared. Just wing it. Being an entrepreneur is also taking risk. I'm gonna wait a few seconds. I'm not sure. Sometimes on the streaming platforms there is a delay, so I'm gonna wait like a minute while I drink some water. That will let you some time to write down. Well, everybody's shy today. Moving on. So now that you have a user story and a short description of your ID, you know what you want to do and you know what this thing looks like from the point of view of the user. The next step now is to isolate how you can solve this problem and how you can build an easy prototype. So first, you want to take a piece of paper and write down every feature that is required to make this solution happen. For instance, with the baby alert app, you want a mobile app. What does this mobile app look like? You want to draw UI. You want to draw interface, wireframes. You want to think, do I need a profile? Do I need video? Do I need a website? Do I need a database? Like write everything down. Like you want to have like pages and pages of different IDs. Do you need a login? Do you need a calendar? Do you need like social media features? Like what will make your application the best application in the world? You want to write down everything. It's like this big brainstorming. You can even invite friends, like just like do a big brainstorming session. Next is the time to come back to reality. So now you need to take all this list and sort it. What is essential? What is the features without it, you can't get to the solution of this problem. So for instance, if you're building the baby alert app for Julia, you want to have a mobile app. Otherwise, there's no mobile app. And you want to have a way of sending messages between the babysitter and the user. So that, there's like all those features that are essential to start. Then you have the features that are nice to have. Usually those features will be features that help acquire more users, or that can be features that block more user from coming back. So that's like the improvement bucket. And the not useful are the ones that are like out there, completely crazy. You know that it will make the app better, but it's really hard to build, and you know that it will take some time. So you don't want to discard any of that. You just want to know where to start. So when you develop your product, you want to start at the essential one, and then as you get traction, slowly add the nice to have, and then keep the not useful one for when you are like growing and getting funding and you're ready to go. For instance, in the user scenario, you can answer in the chat here if you decide to interact. Is it necessary to have a user profile with photos, for instance, in the first version? I will say no. You don't need to have all this UI to be able to upload a photo at the very start of the application. You just need a user profile to be able to log in, and that's enough. Is it necessary to have a review system for the babysitters? The answer is no. Like you don't need that right away. Your application is used to monitor the baby, not to hire a babysitter. It can be in the future, but try to like focus on your first version. Is it necessary to have a login system? Yes, because you don't want your babysitter talking to someone else. You want to have this connection and know the identity of the user. So you need a login system. Is it necessary to have a video chat? Maybe not. You can have just like a text chat at the beginning, and you can integrate with the camera to have like video recording and photo uploads, but maybe not real time, at the very beginning. So now, for example, let's take Tesla. Tesla's essential feature is to have an electric car. If you remove the electric car, there is no Tesla. A nice to have is the touchscreen dashboard. It provides information and give a better user experience, but I think if you remove the touchscreen dashboard, people will still buy the car. Another example of not very useful things would be the ludicrous mode. When you like press the button and you can go super fast, or even like playing video games on the touchscreen. Those are like buzz things. They're things that create traction in marketing, but from the user point of view, they're not things that are essential in the delivery of value to solve the problem you're solving. What you want to solve is how to travel from point A to point B with an electric car, and all the rest around it is added bonus, but it's not essential. So anybody want to pick a company? I don't know, like pick Amazon, pick Twitter, and do a little description for it. For instance, Twitter, you can have the essential feature being to post a message in a thread, and the thread everybody can see. There is no following, no profile. You can just go on a page and write a tweet. That would be the bare bone essential Twitter feature. And then you can add more things, for instance, having a profile and following other people. And then you can have the nice to have, which is like, all the story stuff that everybody's doing now in the social media industry. But you can remove those, and Twitter will still stay Twitter. Well, this workshop will be faster than the time we have allocated because I reserved some time for you to be able to interact. Okay, Google, cool. Okay, Sharif or Ayan, you're saying Google. So what is the essential feature of Google? What is nice to have, and what is not useful feature? Like the things that is not required but it's nice. And so I imagine you're talking about the Google as a search engine. Okay, so you don't want to give it a try. Okay, I'm going to do it then. So for instance, for Google, the essential feature is to be able to type a query and get results that somewhat answer your question. And at the start, you can do exact match. It's like if I search for this exact sentence, I want this exact sentence back. That's how all the Yahoo and I don't remember what was the name of this early search engine. But that's how they worked, exact match. What is yeah, thank you, Sweaty. Facebook, awesome. And for Google, the nice to have will be the the little to have better results at the top. It's like now that people want to use it more. And the not useful but great is like the quotes when they extract the information out of the website. Like if you search something, you have like the little summaries from the website. You don't even need to click on the page. It's a great nice to have, but without it you will still be using Google. Someone in the comments said Facebook. Yes, the communication part, get friends, and now you have all the extra like the stories and the photo album and all of that, right? Awesome. So now we have more idea about how to create a MVP, a minimum valuable product. So that's like the version 0 of your solution to solve the problem. So first, how do you design it? Like even before to start, you want to make plans, you want to make drawing, imagine yourself as a persona, go back to the story you wrote down and try to look at how you can be this person and what it will look like to use your product from this person. You want it to be as minimal as possible, like boil down to the essential. Use the feature list with Just Build and really see which one are the most important one to solve the problem and provide value to your user. At the beginning, do not add anything that is not needed. It will just be a waste of money because you don't know if the user wants it. Feedback loop. That's one of the most important things of a prototype. Because you don't know what you're building, because you don't have a market yet, because you haven't talked to your user yet, you want a way to collect data, metrics, information about how your prototype is used and why your user likes it and why they don't like it. By collecting this data, that will give you information on what to do next. How to prioritize will be informed by the feedback received by your user. And yeah, you can't progress if you don't have this feedback because you won't know what to build next. Branding. The branding can start even before you have a product. You can just make one landing page. You want your logo, your colors, and get early user excited about what's coming. You can just make like a teaser, being like, this is coming. Do you want to be part of it? Nowadays, you have a lot of websites with just like an email form where you can provide newsletters. You can have like a wait list and like make people excited, being like, your number 200 in the list, it's gonna be you soon. So you can start creating this hype, this excitement, even before you have anything. In the business model can be very tricky. You want to find a way to monetize your product, but your product is not ready yet. So you want to make the early user understand that they are joining a prototype that is a moving, evolving things. You want them to know that they are joining a journey. By doing that, they'll be more comfortable with pricing changing, features disappearing and reappearing, those type of things. Like, you want them to know that it's a work in progress and they are part of this experience. One advice is that if you start free and then you add price, a lot of people will leave. So you need to find something based on your market, based on what you're selling, that where you can sell even very cheap, like $1, like the cheapest possible, but so that when you move the price, it's not a new friction wall. It's not like an extra steps for your user to go from free to pay. They're already paying, and now you're just changing the way it's being paid. One other advice, if you're building a B2C platform, so that means business to customers, when you focus on everyday person, you want to have like a good user experience. I disappeared. make your user want to use your product. I don't know if you feel that way, but I do feel that way sometimes. Like, for instance, I make an amazing sauce, for food, and I will find just an excuse to eat this amazing sauce I made, and I'll just eat anything just to be able to eat it because it's good. It's kind of the same thing here. You want to build a platform with an amazing user experience, so good that people will regret not having the problem again. For instance, Julia, she'll be like, "Oh, I'm so excited to be at work, so I can use the product again and see the UI and the beautiful buttons, and it's so smooth." You want the good user experience. Is MVP a prototype or a beta version? So MVP stands for minimum valuable product. And so I don't know what's the difference between prototype and beta version for you. For me, a prototype will be able to show very, very early users, kind of like, so in the video game industry, for instance, and in other industries, you have the alpha and the beta version. Alpha version is usually closed, so it's only on like a list of selected person. Then the beta often is open, but you're using a beta. It's like early access. I think the prototype is like even before the alpha, is to show that it's feasible. Then you have the alpha, which accepts like a limited amount of user, and the beta that is opening to more user, and then you have the real product. And the MVP, I think, is between the prototype and the alpha. You want to show that it's feasible. You want to show that it has traction. And you want to show that it has traction by showing that your wait list of users that wants in is crazy and growing. At least that's my take on it. I'm sure you can find other answers, but that's how I feel. So how do you build a prototype? Talking about prototype, you want something frugal. Don't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars at the beginning because you don't know if people are gonna want to use it. Several times when I work with entrepreneurs, they tell me, "Oh, I'm gonna hire this company to build my platform. It's gonna cost 80 grand, and I'm gonna have this beautiful website." But often they haven't done the prototypes that validates that what they're going to build are going to bring value. So you don't want to jump these steps. Like, build something cheap, build something like very easy, so that you can see that the user wants your product at the beginning. Iterate. So that's the reason why you don't want to spend too much money, is because everything is going to change very quickly between iteration. Maybe you're gonna have like your user using your product, and they're going to be like, "Oh, I love these features, and I don't care about this one." And so you're gonna stop developing this feature nobody cares about. You're gonna cut it off from your platform, and then you're going to focus on these features that everybody uses. And then you're gonna end up with a product that you had no idea what it would be back 1 year ago. And that will be because you're building it with your user. So then the question of no code, mobile, web, what do you want to build? All of that will depend on like your features and the essential feature. If you're building a software, we are in a very lucky time today. You can use no code technology to build a very cheap platform. There is so many platform out there where you can just build a very simple landing page. You can put like a waiting list. You can have a survey. You can have like a email calendar. You like you can even build an entire website just by drag and drops. So be careful before spending money. There are a lot of ways to build a website for nothing. And if you need help because you're not technical, feel free to book some time with PURE LAMBDA, and we can work on your problem and really like find what works for you. And you're gonna discover that you can do it yourself, which is a very amazing feeling when I work with entrepreneurs and then they leave the meeting being like, "Oh my God, I can do it myself and start today." Yes, you can. Handmade. So handmade is the idea that obviously, you're thinking about the future and you're saying like, I want this system automated. I'm selling this AI that does this and that and blah, blah. But at the very beginning, you're not going to have like 10 million users, you're going to have 10. So you can do it by hand for those 10 users. And by doing it by hand, that will allow you to write down, and that's the next bullet, the introspect, that will allow you to write down the steps that you have to do manually to solve the problem of your user. And by doing that, that will help you focus on what to automate first. So let's say you have like all those steps, you need to fill up this Excel spreadsheet, do some research, and then send an email. And you're going to realize that maybe the research phase and the reading phase is what takes the longest. So now you can focus on automating these steps, and that will be your first blocks of your backend software architecture. And then you can still do, the Excel spreadsheet and still do the email, but the one component is automated, which will give you a lot more time and can raise and increase your quantity of user you can serve. And then you can move that way. It's like, is what I'm doing useful? Is what I'm doing provide value? And how long does it take? And so you will be able to write down like the algorithms that you do with your own hand and automate that. So what will go wrong while you build your prototype and attract your first user? The answer is everything. Everything will go wrong, but everything has solutions. And when it goes wrong, it's just an opportunity to learn something. So first problem that can happen, traction. You don't have any visitors on your website. In this condition, you need to work on marketing, branding, and SEO. So marketing, you want to put your name out there. Branding, you want to make like maybe a better logo, like something that sticks, something that people remember. And SEO is all about search engine optimization. How do you make, the Google search of people show your platform first? You can also spend paid advertisement on social platform, but we're gonna talk about more about that a little bit later. Conversion. So that conversion is like when you have a lot of visitors on your platform, but they don't become user. So that might be a problem with the way user needs to register. And we're gonna talk about friction right after. It's maybe they don't see the value from the page they land on. So maybe you want to work on some A/B testing, try version A and version B of the website and see if moving stuff, changing colors make people more engaged. Or look at your sign-up form. If you followed what we talked about earlier, you have tracking systems in place, so you know that the user are dropping out at step 4 in your sign-up form. So maybe look at why this step will make people fall. So now friction. Friction is a very interesting topic. It's about user experience. So friction can be, it's a very complex topic. And obviously, if you want to dive deeper into it, you can hire an expert in user experience and in design. But I'm going to give you my rule of thumbs and the thing I use to create good user experience. But my background is more in like the tech stuff rather than in the UX. But that would be my take on it because I think that's really important. For me, the rule of thumb is like, you want to remove as many clicks as possible. If you start from like the best user experience, it would be one button, not even a button. Like you go on the website and your problem is solved without having to touch anything. It's obviously impossible. So imagine that every button, every step you add will decrease the satisfaction because you're going to increase the friction. So try to remove as many steps, as many clicks as possible. Another thing that people often don't think about is that, let's say you just have to click on one button to solve the problem, but there are 15 buttons on the page. So the user will have to scan through to find the right button. That's also friction. The distraction on the page are also hurting the user experience. So technology, that's a bit for later. Like, let's say you build like a no-code platform using online tools that are available, and you realize that as you grow, your technology is starting to block your growth. Like maybe you can't add more users, you're getting too slow or too expensive. So that's a big problem, and that's why tracking is important. You want to be able to plan that ahead of time. You don't want to end up in a situation where you don't have the money to replace the components that are hurting you, and that can be like the end of everything. So make sure to really monitor the growth, do prediction for the next 6 months, and make sure that you have plans to replace components that can become a pain for you. And so in this case, you need to study the other option and hire an expert, or hopefully you have good engineers in your team to solve the problem. The ambition. Maybe you want to build too many things, or not enough things, or not enough differentiation. So that's when you really want to talk to your user. Ask what they want, look at what they use, look at what they don't use, and make sure to like do what they ask for. You don't want to build some things that nobody wants to use. So conduct user survey, try to investigate and talk to your user. At the beginning, you want to do that very often. Have like 100 first users and talk to them. Okay, so now the exercise. If someone wants to participate, try to tell me about an MVP of a company. So, for instance, what would be the MVP for Twitter? What would be the MVP for Amazon? Like the most minimalist version of it, with one action. So I'm gonna jump in. For instance, a minimum version for Twitter will be just what I said earlier. You can post on a public thread, nothing else. Just one post, one public thread for everybody. MVP for Amazon, that's what they did at the beginning. They just sold a book, and they delivered one product, and that's it. So if you can think of a company and have a little minimalist version of it, just put it in the chat. That can be useful for others to have example. Moving on to product market fit. So now you have your product, you have your prototype, it's growing and acquiring users. How do you navigate this growth? So feedback, so that's the loop that gets you to product market fit. You have your ID, and you can take a screenshot. That's like the most important slide. That's the loop of like growth to product market fit. So you start with the ID, you build your prototype. From this prototype, you get your first users and collect user feedback. And with those user feedback, you update your prototype to get closer to what people want. And so sometimes you need to suggest, you can show them version A, version B, and see which ones they like the most. You can ask what they would expect to see when they hear your own company name. You can ask about how the problem is impacting their life today and what would be a solution for them. But you can't do that if you don't have a user. You can't do that if you don't have a prototype. So it's like this loop that you need to put in place where you can build, acquire user, get feedback, update, and continue. So how do you grow your pool of users? There is this famous chart about early adopters, the majority, and the late adopters. There is a trap that you want to avoid, and that's why I put the slide here, that you can pick easy early adopter. For instance, foreign students at the university. They are usually tech savvy and ready to embrace new product. But keep in mind your goal. Your goal is to reach the majority of the population from the marketing and motivation of those excited early adopters. But you won't breach the chasm if the early adopter do not communicate with the majority of the population. So, for instance, when you target foreign students, they won't talk about the amazing experience they've had with your product with the local grocery store person, for instance. You want to target early adopters that are usually tech savvy and are ready to embrace new technology, but make sure to pick them so that they are in contact with the next steps in your growth, so that you don't reach the chasm and then you're blocked. So that's kind of like a little thing to keep in mind, but don't make it that block you. If you get foreign students to use your product, it's not negative. Don't block them from using it. It's like the more people, the better. But if you have the option to choose where to start, try to start with the early adopters that will communicate with the rest of the population. So some strategy to attract more users. First one is branding. You want to build a solid brand that is consistent. You want to create expectation. When people see your name, they know they're gonna get the best service they have. And you want that to be true throughout the entire experience, from the first contact until and forever. Advertisement, so you can use online advertisement, and even like if you want pay for the street ads and this type of thing, depending on what you're selling. But you have to be careful there, because you don't want to waste money. Once again, same thing when you were to build your prototype. You don't want to build something that you don't know if someone wants yet. Same thing here. You don't want to spend money to advertise if you don't know what one user can bring you in revenue, and if you don't know what is your conversion rate, and etc. So you want to be able to calculate at least estimation. It's like, if I spend $1,000, will I get 10,000 back, or will I get 1,200? So you want to know what your money is going to produce, or at least estimate. You don't want to just pay for advertisement and then don't follow up and don't know what's going on, because then you're gonna just waste money. SEO is really important because it allows you to be at the top. For instance, if you search for LEO BENKEL, or if you search for PURE LAMBDA, you're gonna see tons of good results. Referral. Building a system with incentives is very interesting as well, because you want your user to become your marketing staff, and you want your user to become your ambassadors that will advertise for you and describe how amazing their product was. And so imagine this like gradient of motivated user. I think I'm flipped, so that would be the right or the left for you. So you will have like the most motivated user here. They will advertise for you no matter what. And over there, you have the people like, even if they love your service, they're never gonna talk about it. In the middle, you have those people that are in between. They like your product, but they don't really feel the motivation to advertise for you. Adding a good referral system in place, like for instance, getting a month free or getting $30 or whatever, like depending on your platform, you can give a few stuff for free, like use those type of things. That will make more person be an advertiser for you. So just think about that, create incentives so that user wants to invite more users. Time is important. Sometimes you just have to wait, but same thing, make it calculated. Don't wait too long, and make sure to wait when you have things that is in flight. For instance, SEO, in my experience, it can take up to 6 months for Google to rank your page. So don't modify your page every day thinking like, why am I not at the top? Maybe you just have to wait. And the other important thing is or at least it's just a repeat. Be careful when you're spending money to be able to track the return on investment. You don't want to just throw money away. Like, make sure you have a way to measure the success. Even if you don't know what advertising will bring, make sure that you have a system in place to measure that it works or don't work, because you want to learn from this attempt. If it's a positive attempt, you want to remember so you can retry, and you want to know by how much it was positive. And if it is not positive, you want to know that you don't want to do it again this way, or maybe you need to change something to make it positive. So when have you reached product market fit? I kind of like this sentence. It's when users are eager to pay you to solve their problem. And when I say the problem, is that the problem you set out to solve, you remember the first step, like when we talked about 45 minutes ago. And so how do you know in numbers? The two big numbers you want to look at is the sales. So let's say you are selling socks. That can be a fun store. You want to track your sales and how they're going up as more people are buying socks. And that's well and good, but there is only a certain amount of people available in the market. So what you want is people that have already come, be able to come back. So that's when the retention comes back. So if someone buys socks from you, you want them to come back and always buy socks from you because you have the best experience, the best everything. And when you see the retention and the returns customer growing, that's when you have a strong sense that you have reached product market fit. You have reached a place where people want to pay you and wants to come back for it. Keep in mind that it's just like a general statement. It works for most companies, but it doesn't work for every company. Like, for instance, if you are selling plumbing services, people won't come back every week for plumbing services. I mean, I hope so. Otherwise, you're not doing a great job. Like, once the problem is solved, they should not come back. But maybe they'll advertise their friends. So, in this condition, maybe the retention, the referral is important. And maybe you can design your retention in a different way. Maybe you can say that retention is also including people that has been referred by the user. So you have a more generic retention matrix that is useful to you. So once market fit is reached, user will advertise and do marketing for you. It's like the word of mouth. People will be like super happy. It's like, Instagram, Twitter, like all the big companies, you've heard about them. They don't need to pay for advertisement anymore. It's like, about them, it's great, and you've heard about it from friends and family. Things that people often forget is that it will help you with acquiring user and customers. And that's an entire discussion about what's a user versus the customers. And, we can talk about it another time. But the other things that I wanted to say is that will also help you to attract talents. So when you get to this point, talents will be excited to work in a company that is successful. And that's something that people often forget when they do marketing. You do marketing for users and you do marketing for hiring. And in today's time, I think it's really important because hiring talents can be really, really tricky nowadays. And so make sure to think about the talents marketing every once in a while. So I think that's all for me. So what did you think? Are you excited about launching your company? Like, how are you going to use the information you got today? Tell me. Thank you, Sweetie, for pointing out. You said you like the branding and the referral points. Awesome. Thank you, Jukebox Hero. It's a great online event going on. It's good to watch. Great. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, LEO BENKEL. It was an awesome session. You have pointed out a very good points, and even I have learned so many things from you. How to make idea to product market fit. That was awesome. Thank you so much, LEO BENKEL. But at this point, we have some questions for you. If you would like to answer to that questions, I would like to
Yeah.
begin with the point is that already one of our first member, PL Hassan Shadin, was talking about why it is important when developing a product. Okay, so idea product market fit is important, but why it is important? That's if you want to share one sentence.
So the product market fit in itself is like just a checkpoint. As you grow, it shows that you are on the right traction. When you build a product at the beginning, just get out there and then get user traction, and you're gonna pass by in your journey. Like you're gonna see product market fit pass by, but you're already beyond this success trajectory. So don't focus too much about it. The goal is to get user feedback, look at your metrics about retention and sales, make sure you providing to your user what they want, and you're gonna be successful without even noticing it.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. We have another question from the audience that he was telling that he has some idea and he has shared it with his friends, but his friends has started business with this idea but without adding him in the team. So his question is, what should he do right now in this situation, and how can she protect his idea? Is there any kind of solution, or would you like to share something on this issue?
Well, I'm not a legal expert, so you can talk to your lawyer, and maybe you can sue them if you have proof that you've been the inventor. I'm not entirely sure. Another thing you can do is like just make your own company because you had this idea first. Maybe you have more insight into the problem. Maybe you remember, like I said earlier, with if you are the unique person that is well made to build this solution. Remember the first story I said about the persons that have experienced it themselves and have now the technical skills. If you are the best person for the job, who cares who else is in this market? You're gonna crush them.
So true. I saw there are some companies those who are very similar, but they had some connection. Right now, they do not have any connection. So that
Yeah, and
happens
and
with
it's
some
always,
companies.
be like sometimes you have different niche. Maybe there is one small market that's better. Maybe the market is so big. There's so many people on the planet
Yeah.
nowadays. There's always opportunities.
Yes, you may work here. Someone may can work in some other countries. That might happen.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
yeah. From your presentation, I like the most that the strategies that you have shared with us, the how to attract the users to your company. That is very amazing. And I just want to know from you. It's my question to you basically that. About I would like to know more about your company, Pure Lambda, how you have started your business, and then how you grow it to this point, and could you please share something about it?
Yeah, so this event is actually a marketing strategy for me to get my name out there. So you
Yeah,
see, I'm applying the principles like get your name out there, get people to know about you. Uh, I go to a
yeah,
lot of meetups. I write articles so that people get my name out there. You can follow my Medium account. I just recently finished an article on how to build a winning pitch deck to raise funds, and so that will come out next week. I'm finishing to write it up right now, and so you see that create uh, legitimacy, that create a backtrack of success, and so you can show the world that you know what you're doing, and that creates this like snowball effect. It's like, oh, people are happy to work with me because they took the risk of working with me because they saw that I was successful with other people, and so you see how it's like slowly growing into this success now. And so I'm very happy to be here today, where I can talk about my company and talk about what I know and transfer this knowledge, and that's how I do it. Oh, are you still here?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I think you just came back. You can
Yeah.
go to purelambda.com, and there is like a little blog icon at the top right, where you will go on like all the presentation I've done in the past, all the workshop I've done in the past, all the article I wrote.
Wow. Okay. So that's great to hear from you. Yes, I just want to share with the audience is that it was his marketing strategy that's how actually we connected. Otherwise, it was not possible. I'm in Bangladesh. Is another country. How is that possible? So you can take these kind of strategies to connect with some other people. So that's important thing.
Yeah,
One last
get
question
get
I
your
would
name
like
out there.
to.
And one thing that I tell people is like, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So just get out there, talk to
Yes.
people. Don't be shy. That's why I was trying to motivate people to participate. What if you had an amazing idea, you put it in the chat, and then someone else is like, oh, I want to work with you.
No. You know that as sometimes it is the people's shyness, because in our country sometimes people think that if I say something and that is came wrong, what will people say?
Oh,
That's
no.
demotivates them. That's
You, the
why.
other says that I really like is like, you never fail. You either succeed or you learn.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So one last question from the audience is that one person is trying to know that how can we bring a large number of people under multiple social platform? That's his or her question.
Um, a strategy that has worked in the past is not to get a large number of people, but to focus on a small market. So look at Facebook, for instance. They started in universities, and they created this barrier to entry to make it exclusive. So people wanted to be in, but they can't. And the only people that could get in were small universities, and he would open one university at a time, because he knew that for this platform to be successful, you need to not have one user, you need to have a network of users. So if you imagine you have a marketing advertisement campaign on the entire country, then someone in in one city will join and they won't have any friends, and someone in another city will join and they won't have any friends. But if you say only this neighborhood can come in, people will be like, oh, all my friends are already here, and then you can extend to a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and so as you extend, you guarantee that the
Yes.
network of people is maintained.
Yes, it's so true. Thank you so much, Leo. It was awesome to have a discussion with you. We are about to end our session, but before ending our session, any few words would you like to share with our audience?
Yeah, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. You can search for Leo Benkel, and feel free to visit my website, purelambda.com. And if you need help with your project, feel free to reach out.
Okay, so you can get Leo's writings in lambda.com. So hopefully you will learn some more about Leo Benkel and his company from there. So thank you, Leo Benkel, for joining us.
My
Yeah, for
pleasure.
me, it is like one of the best session I have ever attended, because you
Wow.
have explained each and everything so well, so well. Even for me it was a learning session, and for the audience I hope they have learned a lot from you. So we have
Awesome.
something, definitely we'll learn so many things from you in the future if you have any time for us. Thank you
Absolutely.
for giving your time to Bangladesh. So see you in the next future, and thank you audience for joining us. Bye bye.
Bye bye.